bit of preamble there. You taking off your loud jacket and sniffling.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to make sure the microphones work, Richard.
Testing it to make sure. They're picking up this rustly jacket.
Yep, well, I mean...
Pick up a couple of sniffs.
Best that both microphones pick up audio instead of only one of them.
Well, I was going to get to that later on. Welcome to Film Franchise Fortnights on the Cult Popture podcast. I'm your host, Richard Martin. I'm joined by my assistant.
What? Oh, AJ, Alexander Jones. Call me anything but Alex Jones, because in this current political climate, best stay away from any controversial issues.
Yes, we're all about no controversy here, and as such, there'll be no racism on our episode about one of the staples of Japanese cinema.
I mean,
Godzilla.
In a perfect world, we wouldn't have to worry about there being racism in our film reviews, but you know what? We're imperfect. We're imperfect guys, and we're privileged, and we know that, and we want to change, and we're trying. And acknowledging that helps, maybe.
I don't know.
I'm not that racist.
I feel like the blanket thing is that you just shouldn't be racist.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, anyway, we're doing what we do best. Cracking open a couple of root beers.
I don't have one.
Yeah, I put one by your feet.
Oh, you did.
I had this planned from 5 minutes ago.
A root beer's going to be like a staple for Film Franchise Fortnights now.
Well, at least for the Godzilla series. Cheers to G-Man.
The G-Zill. To be honest, any nickname we give him isn't as cool as Godzilla. So
yeah. You may have listened to our last podcast where we discussed the Showa series and explained that Godzilla is a 31 film franchise, and it split up. It split up not just us deciding to split it up; it actually split up politically. By era, and they've rebooted it a few times. And today we're talking about the second incarnation.
If you understand the language of film franchises, look to something like the Batman films, where the first four were part of like one continuity, and then the second three were part of another continuity, and now we're in the third continuity of Batman films. Now with Ben Affleck, same thing as that, where there are separated continuities of Godzilla series.
We'll talk about the continuity again later on. We discussed it last week, and it got even more complicated this week. So first off, apologies if you did listen to the last episode. We didn't realise it until we came to edit the podcast, but my microphone somehow, through no fault of my own, turned off or stopped receiving my audio
about halfway through.
So you might notice that we had to basically boost everything I say because it was picking up off AJ's mic, and so there'd be the occasional I'll be talking and then you'll get a really loud from AJ, and that's because I couldn't, because he does it a lot, and I couldn't.
Well, it's so people know I'm still here. I think it's kind of cute in a way, right? Because if you know, there's someone who's been listening to us since the start, or maybe they've been, you know, maybe they're one of our new listeners that we've got a few of lately, and they've been binge listening to it from the start. You might have noticed that I think we've improved, and we've improved to the point now where we actually have multiple microphones instead of just talking into one. And with that, there will be some growing pains.
Yes, this was much like when we first got this type of microphone, a Blue Yeti, and we said, hey, if the audio sounds real good, this is why, and we had to cut it out. I don't know if we discussed this but on the podcast, but originally it was the Shanghai Nights episode, which was our third episode, and we talked about, hey, if you're wondering, wow, the audio sounds real good now, this is why, because we got a new microphone and we're recording it like this. But it didn't work as well as we thought, and so we cut out the line bragging about how good it sounded.
Yeah, and then I had to separate yours and mine audio and boost one up and boost one down.
That's right, because AJ talks a lot louder than me, and we have to. We normally balance it out by having AJ sit about a foot back from me, and. I can have the microphone. I can just have the microphone closer.
It's like a Peter Jackson set. Like I'm sitting a meter behind you, but it sounds like we're sitting next to each other. We're actually facing each other in this new setup.
Yeah. So get ready for lots of visual gags about as I describe AJ's face.
So Richard, how many films did we watch this week?
Oh, that's the other thing we should mention. If you came to the Cult Pop Show podcast thinking, oh, I thought you'd have some biting commentary on the 13th Doctor, or where am I, D23.
13 other females who should have played Doctor Who.
Yeah, something like that. Something stupid like that. The Cult Pop Show podcast, here come the burps.
Oh my gosh.
This is why root beer's a bad idea. You said it last week, but I wanted to start a
Here
tradition.
come the burps, Mum.
Here come the burpees. I'm not going to do burpees. It's a different podcast. Anyway, getting off track. So, what were we talking about?
The Cult Pop Show
Yeah.
podcast.
Cult Pop Show podcast. The one we do outside of film franchise Fortnights is going to be taking a wee break now as it's Godzilla month.
It's Godzilla month.
July/August is Godzilla month.
Everyone knows that.
So we are doing this from
Our
through
second
week.
out of 4 Godzilla episodes. Week to week. Back to back.
So, and then your regularly scheduled programming will return.
With a bang, might I add.
Oh, have you got a plan?
No.
It'll be with
promising.
a fizzle. Sorry, just taking a wee sip. Here come the burpees again. No, so we watched 7 films this week.
How many did we watch last week?
Last week we watched 15.
So it's a hefty break.
Yeah, so it's been one a day though.
Yeah, that's true. We didn't stop.
It's half the films, but we're fitting it into half the time.
Yeah, that's true.
It's really it hasn't been a break. It's been
almost harder.
Almost an identical workload.
We actually didn't. We weren't as diligent this with the series and didn't watch one a night. We actually took a couple breaks. So it's actually, you'll be listening to this on a Friday at the earliest. It's actually a Tuesday night now. So
well, okay.
we usually record them a week in advance. Why do you care? You're here to talk about Godzilla, not our work schedule.
Our schedule. So speaking of schedules,
I don't know where you're going with it. You're looking at me like, yep, you picked this up.
AJ, come on.
AJ, pick up this segue.
AJ, do a type 5 about schedule. Okay, so should we just crack it? I feel like we've done enough housekeeping.
I've got an entire list of descriptions of movies
and I've
here.
got an entire list of film titles.
So, Richard, tell me, what was the first film we watched this week?
The first film we watched this week was called The Return of Godzilla, also called, in the American version, the dub, Godzilla 1985. So it came out in 1984, but Godzilla 1985 came out a year later in 1985. That was directed by R.J. Kaiser and Koji Hashimoto, and that features Godzilla and, of course, Godzilla and Shokaris.
So that film is a soft reboot or sequel to the original film. Would that be correct in saying? It ignores all the sequels to the original Godzilla, I think. Yep. It certainly doesn't talk about them. And Godzilla attacks Japan once again before being lured into a volcano where he is trapped.
Now, is this the same Godzilla for the original, AJ?
I don't know, is it?
I don't think so.
Because that one died.
Yeah, so that one died. And then...
That was Gojira. This is Godzilla.
Yeah,
that's
it's
my
weird
head
because
canon.
they then, by the end of the series, like the one we just finished watching, they talk about how Godzilla died in 1954. And now there's another Godzilla. So I think they're different ones. But however, I'm sure there are people out there that know more about. This isn't a lack of research. This is too much research, and there's too much information in my brain, and I'm getting my wires crossed, and I should have written it down.
Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. What was the next film?
I'm not perfect. That came out in 1989. So Godzilla vs. Biollante came out in 1989, directed by Kazuki Omori.
Yep.
And that features Biollante.
So a DNA cell from Godzilla is used in a science experiment, or several science experiments, and ends up getting merged with a plant, creating Biollante, who's a giant Venus flytrap looking monster. Kind of, if you've seen Little Shop of Horrors, it's like a Godzilla version of Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors. Godzilla turns up again, having escaped from the volcano, and the two battle it out. Godzilla wins and disintegrates Biollante, whose molecules float away into the sky. That's important.
Okay.
That part that they float into the sky is important for later.
Now, if I was listening to this podcast, I'd be like, wow, 2 films in and they're running out of ideas. That sounds terrible. That was the best one.
That was pretty good.
That was real
that
good.
Yeah.
I really liked that one.
It was a fresh idea for a monster instead of just being like another like dinosaurish kind of thing.
It was like and it had that again, it kind of tried to do that message that a couple of them did. I can't remember what it was, but I remember thinking, oh, okay.
They're very like environmentalism, but like it's like they decided they wanted to be an environmentalism themed series, but they didn't think beyond we should be better to the environment.
They're just like, we're going to make an environmental film. What if
we weren't?
What if there's a plant? And then they get into the editing room and they're like, wait, the plant's the bad guy.
The plant's the tragedy. They're all tragic characters.
Do we hate plants?
Yeah, no one likes plants. No one's like a plant activist.
Who hates plants? So yeah,
Next one?
that was a pretty good one. Next after that came Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. This the Heisei series is also sometimes referred to as the versus period because 6 out of 7 of them are just called Godzilla versus something.
But what was the Showa period? Weren't they just? I guess they weren't. Anyway,
no, well, because there's like a period of like 5 films in the Showa series that don't have Godzilla in the title.
I've forgotten already.
And then there's also interesting, the 4th one in the Showa series is called Mothra versus Godzilla, and the 4th one in the Heisei series is called Godzilla versus Mothra. So not too creative.
We're getting a bit ahead of ourselves though.
Yeah, anyway, Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, that was Kazuki Amori directed that one as well, and it features King Ghidorah, Mecha King Ghidorah, the Dorats, and Godzillasaurus.
So this is a very long description, but I don't know how else to do it. It's also very complicated, but it's the one I paid attention to the most, probably.
Yeah.
After it is discovered that Godzilla was created by the Bikini Atoll bombings, radioactively mutating a surviving T-Rex during the war, these heroes, the heroes of the film, join some time travelers. That's right, there's time travelers in the series now. If you remember last week, we talked about not involving more than one magic.
And we said, all we need is time travel.
And they've done it.
Yep.
So the heroes, along with the time travelers and 3 baby dragon things called Dorats, they're like little cute. They look like
gremlins before they go.
Yeah. They look like donkey and dragons babies from Shrek.
Yeah.
So they're called Dorats, and they go back in time to remove the T-Rex from the Bikini Atoll. They succeed, but they leave the Dorats there, which are then mutated by the bombs and become King Ghidorah in present day.
Yeah, I should mention it's not a T-Rex; it's a Godzillasaurus.
No, it is a T-Rex. It turns into a Godzillasaurus, isn't it?
No, it's a Godzillasaurus that turns into Godzilla.
Okay. I'll stop using the word T-Rex. Crosses out like 6 more. So it turns. So the 3 Dorats, the 3 little dragon donkey babies, turn into King Ghidorah, whose previous origin was that he came from Jupiter. They've scrapped
a planet near Jupiter.
Yeah, planet near Jupiter. So they've scrapped that. But luckily, the Godzillasaurus, which was teleported off the island, was still mutated by the continued abuse of nuclear power all over the world.
When will they learn?
Like, which is kind of like, oh, we have this problem that we need Godzilla now. And he was just always there, so it's like there wasn't really a problem. Anyway, Godzilla still exists, and he shows up and defeats Ghidorah by biting off one of his 3 heads, and then continues to run amok in the city. So now they've got another problem, because now Godzilla's back, and he's just destroying the city again.
They sent the mongoose to kill the snake, and now they've got a mongoose problem.
To defeat Godzilla, the heroes travel to the future, where they find Ghidorah's body and turn it into a cyborg with a controllable robotic head in place of its missing one. They travel back to the present and defeat Godzilla with Super Mecha Ghidorah.
And it's awesome.
That was my favourite one.
Yeah,
that might be my favourite Godzilla film.
Yeah.
Except maybe Gojira, but yeah.
Yeah, you have to say that.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, Biollante and King Ghidorah, like when we watched those, and because even like Return of Godzilla, I was like, yeah, it's pretty cool. They're going in a different direction. These ones are a lot more, despite what we've just said, and the plots, these films are actually like a lot more grounded.
They're a lot more American, I would say. I feel like I'm able to access the plots more because they're like, this is the concept for this one. It's not like the ones in the Showa series were like very like kind of spacey in their descriptions and things like that.
Yeah, so this film, is pretty cool. It's uses time travel and
in a good way. It's a good way to use time travel.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed learning about Godzilla's origin as being a dinosaur on Bikini Atoll. That's a really cool idea. That's really original.
Godzilla fight in the war, and also a lot of people were quite grumpy, understandably, about King Ghidorah. Godzilla's greatest foe being these three weird donkey babies.
It's kind of
like this invasion of the Astro Monster.
The baby Anakin of the
yeah.
How can this little weenie kid be Darth Vader? But yeah, I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was cool. So after that came, as I teased earlier, 1992.
You're such a slut, Richard.
I'm a tease. Sluts give it up.
Okay.
Teasers just...
Well, you're about to give it up.
Well, maybe I won't.
Well, come on then. I won't tell anyone. I thought you were cool.
This is a real insight into your high school years, I'm sure.
Yeah. I was definitely that guy in high school.
I thought you were cool. Oh man!
All right, what's the deal?
Anyway, 1992, Godzilla versus Mothra, directed by Takao. Okay,
you made that up, Richard. It's not a real name.
Takao Okawara.
Okay,
and that features Mothra in both larva and adult form. Larva as in, cocoon.
Larvae.
Not
larva.
And neither's not molten. She. And adult form. And also Batra. Introduces Batra in larvae and adult form.
So Godzilla returns to fight Mothra, who is in turn also fighting an evil version of Mothra called Batra. In the end, Batra and Mothra join forces to defeat Godzilla. Batra dies in the process and Mothra ascends into space.
Yeah.
That's what happens. Oh, and guess who's back?
Back again.
Our favourite little tiny woman from the original Mothra film.
Oh, yes, yep.
They're back. They're better than ever. They're even less explained. And we worked out while we were watching it is that these are, behind Godzilla, they're the second most recurring character in these movies.
Yeah. They're in it more than Mothra.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess not a whole lot to say about that one.
No.
Next one, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, 1993. The first Godzilla film released in my lifetime.
Me too.
Just we hint about my age there for you, if you've been wondering.
Only astute listeners can work it out.
Leave a comment below if you've worked out my age. That was also directed by Takao Okawara.
Mm-hmm.
So that features Mechagodzilla, Super Mechagodzilla, Rodan, Fire Rodan. That's cool.
Yeah.
And Godzilla Jr., who is introduced as Baby Godzilla.
So basically, this is just a remake and kind of a merging of the original Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla film and Son of Godzilla. So the humans create a giant Mechagodzilla to defeat the real one, which they lure in with Godzilla's recently hatched child, who's a baby Godzilla. They refer to him as baby in this film, but they don't refer to him as baby in the others.
Yeah. We'll get to that.
We'll get there. Okay. Rodan also shows up. And there's a big battle that eventually Godzilla leaves with his baby.
Sure,
yeah.
Why not? This is this is pretty cool. It's fine.
We're at the tired, drawn out end of the Heisei series at this point. Yeah. Heisei?
I'm gonna go with Heisei.
Heisei.
Please correct me if you're and I'll do an Amadeus next week. Again, I feel like I need to explain. It's now a running joke of the podcast, which I'm going to ruin by explaining it. But just that Amadeus means adding something extra
because it came from addendum, right?
Yeah.
And
then I was like, "Is that the right word?" And AJ was like, "It's Amadeus." And so now we use the word Amadeus, and I think it's funny.
And if you don't like it. Stop listening.
Yeah, just leave a timed comment letting us know where you stopped listening. And
looking at the analytics for all this episode, there'll be a massive drop whenever at this point. Whenever
one person leaves and 50% of the audience. So the it actually, interestingly enough, that joke, that hilarious running joke, originated from when we announced we were doing the Godzilla franchise.
This has gone from details about the Godzilla series to details about film franchise Fortnights when we decided to do the Godzilla series.
Well, AJ, I didn't do as much research this week.
What is Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla about? I mean, when did it come out?
And what is it? And what's the title?
Yeah.
So Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla came out in 1994. The second film released in my lifetime. Released a year after I was born. Eagle-eyed listeners.
Yeah.
With
Eagle-eared listeners.
I don't know what.
Who directed it?
There was Kinsho Yamashita. That features Space Godzilla, Mogira, Godzilla Jr., who's referred to here as Little Godzilla, and he looks hilarious in this film, and also Fairy Mothra.
Yeah. So the Godzilla DNA cells, which disintegrated into the sky after Biollante was defeated, as we mentioned, as I remember, I was like, you remember that? That's important. They merge with some space crystals to become an ultra mega alien counterpart of Godzilla. Space Godzilla comes to Earth, destroying cities in his wake. It becomes personal because Space Godzilla kidnaps Baby Godzilla, so Godzilla goes all out to defeat Space Godzilla and get Baby Godzilla back. They're all Godzilla. They're all called something Godzilla now.
Yeah. This one was probably the toughest one for me.
You reckon? It was the coolest monster I think we've seen in the series so far. Space Godzilla looked awesome.
It's pretty cool.
He kind of looked like Predator.
He was like Godzilla with the Fortress of Solitude coming out of his back.
Yeah, and like Predator tendrils.
Yeah. Actually, this was my favourite one. As such, I don't have too much to say. The plot was pretty convoluted. I'm sure we'll discuss it more as we get more in depth here on the Cole Popture podcast, which started a year ago, where we did an episode about Lethal Weapon.
It's pretty bad. And actually, do you know what I realised? We recently stated that the Cole Popture podcast started a year ago. When you know on the year anniversary of the Lethal Weapon episode. That's not true. It actually started like 6 months earlier with the most disappointing films.
Film franchise Fortnights started a year
That's
ago,
true.
Which is all I count because it's all I've been involved in. Anyway, I'm just breaking it up with facts about the podcast.
Ugh.
I've got to
stop drinking this root beer, man. I say as I walk that burp down.
And then the last film in the Heisei era. That's like film speaking, not politically speaking, because the Heisei era of Japan, as I mentioned last time, the Showa series referred to Emperor Showa Hirohito. This one refers to his son, Emperor Akihito.
Wait, why is it called Heisei then?
I don't know, dude. He's actually still in power.
So we're still in the Heisei period?
Technically, yeah.
Oh, wow.
But due to his age and failing health, there's talk of him abdicating at the end of 2018 or the start of 2019.
Oh, good.
So we're getting ready for a new era. I guess in like 30 years, if this Shin Godzilla takes off and they do a whole franchise, that might be referred to as whatever's next.
Yeah, true.
But who knows what the future holds?
What's the next one?
Godzilla versus Destroyer. This is it's Destroyer, but there's an extra O in it after the T. Destroyer.
All right.
Destroyer. I'm going to call him Destroyer.
Okay.
That's Takao Okawara again, and that features Destroyer and Godzilla Jr., who finally goes by his given name of Godzilla Jr.
So Godzilla vs. Destroyer is about... So Godzilla is sick, right?
He's sick as, dude.
He's sick. He's unwell. He's dying. His atomic breath
he's fully sick.
Is now fiery, and scientists predict he is about to explode.
Yeah, he's like glowing red.
If you've seen Iron Man 3, very similar to what happens in Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
And when he explodes, he'll probably destroy Tokyo.
In the whole world. They say he'll...
Oh, do they?
They say the heat will ignite the atmosphere of the Earth.
True.
So high stakes.
Also, a monster created from the Oxygen Destroyer from the original film, the 1954
that Serizawa
film.
created.
It turns up and it starts destroying the city anyway. Baby Godzilla also shows up to fight, but he's all grown up now and gets killed by Destroyer. Prompting Godzilla to destroy Destroyer as his final act before he literally melts.
Yeah.
And then it turns out Godzilla Jr. is actually still alive. But
Yeah, a lot to unpack here. So It starts off as the plot from Iron Man 3 and ends with the plot from Logan.
Which I believe, personally, every movie should strive for.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, what's next, man? What are we talking about next? Those are the films. Those are the 7 films that we watched this week, and we will be talking about for the next... we're about halfway through already.
Well, how long were you talking?
We've been talking for 25 minutes.
Oh, sweet. Oh, yeah. I was so worried we wouldn't have enough content. But just listing the films took
But people don't tune in to hear us list them, man. They want tune in to hear us...
talk about the Rotten Tomatoes.
Our intelligent thoughts on them. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to do the Rotten Tomatoes things?
Well, I don't know them.
Okay. What? Okay.
I didn't look them up. Just what are the best ones? What are the worst ones? We don't need to...
Okay, well, I mean, there's only 7, so I can run through them pretty easy.
Okay.
So what would you say your favourite and least favourite were?
My favourite was Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah.
Yeah.
My least favourite was probably maybe Mechagodzilla 2 or the Mothra one.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'd probably go... King Ghidorah and Biollante would be my top 2. And then maybe Space Godzilla or Mothra at the bottom. Okay, so Rotten Tomatoes order. Godzilla vs. Destroyer is number 1 with 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's like not an official rating, it just has 4 good reviews.
Okay.
So, like a lot of these aren't actual scores. Godzilla vs. Mothra is next at 67% from 6 reviews. And then tied for third is Godzilla vs. Biollante and Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, which also has 67%, but they both only have 3 reviews each, so I figured that's like a less, consensus. So those 4 films are all rated like positively. Fourth is Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla at 25%. That's 1 out of 4 reviews. So Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, 1 out of 5 positive reviews, 20%. And lastly is Godzilla 1985, which has 13% from 8 reviews. But this one, normally there's Godzilla Raids Again was called Godzilla Raids Again in Japan. It was called Gigantus the Fire Monster in the US, and they'd have 2 separate pages. There's no separate page for Return of Godzilla.
Right.
So we watched Return of Godzilla, which is considered better, but Godzilla 1985 has 13%.
I'm a bit miffed that my boy Ghidorah got so low on the list.
Yeah.
Because that was the best one.
Yeah, but I can see where people would come from saying it was bad.
Yeah, I guess because it kind of spits in the face of a lot of continuity and lore, and I guess because maybe it's time travel is rarely good when introduced this far into a series.
Yeah, like in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.
Exactly.
When they go to ancient Japan.
That's exactly what I was
thinking. I probably haven't thought about that film since we stopped recording the podcast until now. Just another bit of film franchise Fortnights history for you.
This is the best, folks. This is the best podcast in the world, everybody. You're listening to
Gold.
The origin of... This is the Gojira of podcasts.
Yeah. Do you know if you take a matchbox size thing of gold, you could stretch it out so that it would cover a tennis court. That's what this podcast is. We're taking a small amount of gold and we're stretching it as far as we can.
Yep.
That's a true fact.
That's an analogy.
No, the gold, the tennis court thing is true.
Yeah, that's true. It's an analogy as well, actually. It's both.
No,
or an allegory. What? An analogy doesn't have to be not true.
It's an Amadeus.
It's an Amadeus. All right. Okay.
What
else are we talking about tonight, Richard?
Well, I didn't write down that many talking points.
I'm chomping at the
AJ,
at the
what's
bit.
Your favourite...
we've talked about that.
Interestingly, spoilers for the Millennium and Toho reboot and the 2 American ones. No kaiju introduced in the Heisei series ever reappears.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So, obviously, think something like Ghidorah or Mothra that started, come back. But yeah, so Biollante, Destroyer, none of them reappear.
Something I want to talk about that we didn't talk about last week, but we could have, and we could even talk about it next week if we wanted.
Whoa!
Is
we can even talk about it in 5 weeks.
The music in these films is something we should maybe talk about. So there are 2 main themes of Godzilla.
Yeah. So one of them's there's Godzilla's theme, and then there's Godzilla's march.
Okay, so One of them is real cool, and it's real epic, and it goes.
And this is like the shit's about to go down music. Like you get hyped AF when you hear this.
And it's used in the original Gojira, and then not for ages in the Showa series. It's not used again until like 10 films down the track, I don't think.
Okay.
And Godzilla's March, if you've heard, as we finally discovered and put to bed this week, is actually the music that is sampled in Simon Says, or Says, depending on how you pronounce that.
Says is the correct pronunciation.
By the gangster rap artist Pharaoh Monch, I believe his name is, I think.
Yeah.
So that's, if you heard that song that goes ba-na-na-na, ba-na-na-na, that's that song. It's awesome. And basically, since we started watching Gojira, I've been saying to Richard, what song is this? Like, what modern pop song sounds exactly like this?
And AJ kept on going, ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum. And I was like, you're thinking of the Edison.
And then, I downloaded SoundHound, which is a Shazam ripoff, where you can and I just got my phone out and clicked listen, and I was like, dun 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 dun. Didn't get it.
Yeah.
And then we had other podcast member Jess around, and I was like, Jess, do you know what the song is? And she just looked it up. She looked up Godzilla song. Rap song, and found it immediately.
Yeah,
and I was so happy.
Yeah, I feel that would be the easy thing to do, because I mean, it was when we figured that. I mean, I don't know the song, I don't care, but I had no emotional stake in this. But I mean, you could just. Once we realised that it's probably actually a sample of it, if it sounds as similar as you claim.
I thought it was just a song that sounded like Godzilla's March, not the song literally taking it. And he actually got sued by Toho for using it without asking, and he lost his lawsuit. Which, I mean, why would you do that? Why would you blatantly take someone else's score and then not do any legal work around it?
And that would be like stealing the Star Wars theme and thinking no one would notice because you're releasing it in Finland.
Yeah.
So we had a couple of newcomers this week. I just want to do a little bit of putting to rest some complaints,
some
viewer feedback,
some
section.
Malicious rumors that have been circling around the comment section on our YouTube channel.
So, someone...
I can look up his name. Do you
want? No. It's not important. I don't want to seem that petty. It is important. Someone brought to our attention, they commented on the thing and said, Gamera has nothing to do with Godzilla. I want to apologise if I implied any correlation between the two, other than the fact that during the show, what's officially dubbed the Showa period, that Toho produced 2 series of kaiju films. One was Godzilla, one was Gamera. I think that's all I said, and I want to make it clear, I don't think there's any correlation. I mean, other than the obvious correlation.
David Brown commented that.
Well, now it looks like we take note of our comments.
David Brown. So David Brown, if you're listening.
So I tried to make it sound like we got heaps of comments and we're really popular, and I just happened to see this one, and I don't commit to memory. This was 100% of our comments.
No, it wasn't 100% of our comments.
Yeah, because David Brown commented twice.
So he commented twice. His first comment said, "Great video, Cult Popture. You got a new subscriber." And I was like, "Thanks, David."
Yeah, thanks, David.
And then he also said, "Gamera has nothing to do with Godzilla." Hot and cold, David.
Great content. You've lost a subscriber.
Imagine, I'm not making any assumptions based on your comment, David, but just say, man, it'd be funny if you're 11 years old and you're really stoked that you found like these cool guys from New Zealand talking about Godzilla, and then you listen to the next one and not only are we talking about you, we've been talking about you to extensive levels. If you're there, David, please comment on this episode. Tell me how old you are, maybe. Or maybe don't, actually.
It's real weird.
Yeah, last week I talked about
we've talked
Japanese
about
boys
ages.
in
We've talked about ages a lot on this podcast. Sorry, I keep coughing if we forgot to cut those out.
They're gone.
Need some root beer to wash this down.
A&W root beer since 1919.
Wow.
That's before Gojira.
Yeah, that is.
That's before bombing of Nagasaki.
We've talked about ages a lot on this podcast. Obviously, any eagle-eyed viewers, listeners, will be able to work out my age. I'll give you a hint. It's the same age as AJ. And
my birthday was actually canon on the podcast a couple of weeks ago.
What?
It was canon on a couple of weeks ago when we did Transformers. It was on my birthday.
That's right.
We talked about how old I was then.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll give you a hint.
Don't say the actual age, or you're ruining the podcast.
I thought of something funnier than 24. 25. But I'm not 25. That's my hint.
That's a hint. He's not 25. So there's only...
Maybe I am when you're listening to this.
There's only 100 other ages he could be. Not just David Brown. David Brown?
David Brown.
Yeah, not just David Brown. Everyone comment your age. Let's see if we can get all 100 ages to listen to this podcast.
Well, it actually would be kind of useful for analytics. Anyway, you know what? David Brown's probably turned off by this point because we're not freaking talking about
him anymore.
No, we're talking about Godzilla.
Okay, well, he's a dinosaur.
What?
Okay, do you want to play a round of Godzilla facts? Are they true or are they just like rumored to be true?
Richard, I would love nothing more than to play that game.
All right. Okay, here's two.
Okay.
One, Godzilla has fought the Avengers. Or two, Godzilla is green.
I feel like you didn't try as hard with this week's round of.
This is actually my first round. I just didn't use it last week. This is the first one I wrote.
Godzilla is only rumored to be green. He's actually grey, and he has fought the Avengers.
Yeah, he's charcoal. Godzilla's.
No one coughs like you, bro.
I'm trying real hard to get it out of the way. I don't always convulse my body so that my face is pointing away from the microphone. Yeah, Godzilla's actually charcoal. He is green in one Toho film, which I think is still upcoming. And also like some official material that has been approved by Toho. But like if you were to draw Godzilla, you'd probably draw him green. But he's like charcoal or black.
Yeah.
He fought the Avengers in a 24 issue run and a comic book run, not like a fun run.
It wouldn't be very fun.
It wouldn't be. Well, anyway, yeah, you're right. I didn't try as hard. Last week for you, I had some doozies.
Sure did, man.
What's another? Ask me anything about Godzilla.
I was going to say, what colour is he? But we already covered that. Well, okay, no, like okay, comparing the Heisei series to the Showa series,
it's better.
It's better?
I preferred it.
Far and away?
Yeah.
The Showa series has Gojira, though.
Yeah, but
if I was to describe the difference between the Showa series and the Heisei series, I would say that the Showa series feels a lot more like a comic book. You're watching like ludicrous displays, like the Heisei series had no baby Godzilla looking like dinosaurs, the baby
except
dinosaur.
Except for baby Godzilla.
But he looked a little bit more palatable and realistic in this one, and he wasn't like...
He didn't look like he was in pain.
Yeah, he wasn't like a parody of what looks good. Like,
yeah.
Whereas, yeah, I felt like the Heisei series, at least in the earlier ones, they were kind of more serious in tone, and a lot of them were very clearly reflecting on whatever movie was popular at the time.
Yeah.
Like, you've got... there's a lot of...
Yeah, I know. I just remember something. You keep talking.
There's like the one where they go to the time travel came out around the same time as like the last Back to the Future film. There's the Mecha Godzilla looks a lot like Batman, which would have come out the same time as well. The Tim Burton Batman film. When I say he looks a lot like him, I don't mean he's looks like a bat. He's just like his body armor, like his chest armor is very Tim Burton's Batman. So yeah, this feels like more like if the Showa series was this is what happens when filmmakers can run rampant and do whatever they want. The Heisei series is like, this is what happens when filmmakers want to like pay homage to their favorite movies.
It's like the Heisei series, when they were like, we want to do a serious one, did like good films, you know. And whereas when Showa was like, we want to get serious, they like do Hedorah, the smog monster, and have like just these heavy-handed messages, and they think that's good. But what I excitedly remembered was in the time travel one, there's like UFOs in it because they're time machines, and this would have been right after Close Encounters and E.T. came out.
Yeah.
And there's these two American soldiers on a boat, and they see this UFO go past, and one of them goes, "Wow, look, a UFO." And the other one goes, "Yeah, maybe you can tell your son about it one day, Major Spielberg." Yeah, obviously, because I forgot to say, well, this was in the past. This was during World War II. So there's probably part of the main setup I should have mentioned. But so like it's like the whole Johnny Be Good thing and Back to the Future.
Exactly.
It's that like the Japanese were like, we want credit for these films. How can we imply that it was somehow our idea? So but yeah, it's just a fun little joke. And Spielberg's dad actually did serve in the war. So
there you go. So it's canon.
Yeah, it's canon for real life.
Yeah. Sure.
Why not? Word of God. Yeah, Godzilla also looks a lot better in these films, I felt, as well.
Yeah. So you'll remember in our last episode, I likened Godzilla and his fellow kaiju to that of the Teletubbies or In the Night Garden, like those little preschool shows where people are dressed in big puffy suits and they walk around with their hands flapping about and like hug each other and like stomp up and down on the spot. Look up any scene from any battle scene from the Showa series, and you'll see.
Look up Godzilla Jet Jaguar.
Or the crab one. What was the crab one?
That's not Jet Jaguar.
No, it wasn't. No,
it was Megalon. Ibara.
Ibara, like he like kicks a rock.
Yeah.
But it's so stupid. Like, I don't want to see, I said this last week, I don't want to see Godzilla kicking a rock at a monster. I want to see him biting one. I want to see him trying to,
rip its head off.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all gone in the Heisei series. So to their credit, the suit, it does look better. It doesn't look like insanely realistic. They're still very clearly toys. It's just now their eyes move around and their teeth look like they're made out of like actual monster teeth. So in that instance, it's a lot better, and it goes to show that it's more about the portrayal of the animal than what the animal looks like itself.
Yeah, and it's interesting you bring that up because that's a little segue into what I was going to say. I say a segue, but it's just me continuing what you said. But I think you brought up it was in the Beethoven episode, I believe you mentioned about how we talked about in the Freddy vs. Jason episode that there was a definitive Jason.
Hold on, let me just back up. You're saying that I said in the Beethoven episode that in the Freddy vs. Jason episode.
Yes. Okay. So in the Beethoven episode, you said, remember how in the Freddy vs. Jason episode...
You could have skipped one here.
I know.
Cut out the middleman that is Beethoven.
So, why would you ever cut out Beethoven? So
he's not a good dog.
In the Beethoven episode, you said, remember how in the Freddy vs. Jason episode, I said that there was a definitive Jason, despite him just being a guy in a mask, Kane Hodder. You said, I wonder if there's a definitive Beethoven. I think it was that episode you said it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Anyway.
I doubt I talked about Beethoven in an earlier episode.
But so you talk about this being a better version of Godzilla, it's because there's a new guy in the suit, and there's Kenpachiro Satsuma, who also played Pulgasari. So, yeah.
Pulgasari has nothing to do with Godzilla.
I apologize.
So there's a single guy in the Godzilla suit for all of these
for
films?
the Heisei series, yeah.
For the Heisei series, and he wasn't the guy from the Showa series?
No.
That's cool, because, he feels a lot more like a monster than a person in a suit in this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're right.
Yeah.
It's, how long have we been talking for?
45 minutes.
Oh, yeah. I reckon we could stretch this out a little bit more. Do you want to talk about titles? What do you think of the fact that, like...
We don't... You know what we don't talk about enough on this podcast? Titles.
The history of the podcast?
Let's talk about titles.
Yeah, so, as I said, so the last one, we didn't talk about titles the last time, but they were kind of all over the show.
Yeah,
so you had... it seemed to be X versus Godzilla, whereas this time it's always Godzilla versus. But there was, like... They were just called, like, Ebirah, Horror of the Deep.
Yeah.
Or, like, Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster.
Yeah.
And so the focus wasn't really on Godzilla, whereas this one, it's just Godzilla versus this, Godzilla versus that. What are your thoughts on that?
It's strange because it almost feels like... It feels like there's a cheapness in calling your movie something versus something. And obviously there isn't, because there's plenty of ones that do this, like Batman v Superman.
I'm just going to stop you there. Did you just say doo-doo?
I knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to do that. Like Batman v Superman is a movie that obviously takes itself very seriously, much to its detriment.
Yes.
And
much to the viewer's chagrin.
And that has a versus in it. But then you got something like Freddy vs. Jason. That's true. You got something like... That's the elegant version of versus.
Yeah, it's a court case.
Yeah. Freddy vs. Jason, which is obviously like pulp, schlocky horror, so it's allowed to be like a versus. Then you got Kramer vs. Kramer, which throws it all out of whack. I feel like the Godzilla movies maybe take themselves a little too seriously to be called something versus something, but maybe that's something in the translation of the titles, because I think Tai is the word that's in the Japanese. It'll be Gojira, Tai, Mothra, something like that.
You might have to fact check that one, but I'm not going to.
And maybe like in Japan, that's like a noble word. But I don't know. It sounds way more schlocky than the movies, than the Heisei series have any right to be.
I do remember the Godzilla versus Mothra. I am talking like this for a reason, because I'm typing it. Also went by a different name. Which is Godzilla and Mothra, the Battle for Earth.
Okay.
Yeah, which is interesting that they would just call that one randomly that.
Especially because it's not even... Godzilla and Mothra don't team up in that film.
Yeah, well, no, Godzilla and Mothra battle for the Earth.
Oh, right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay. Anyway, I don't have too much to say about the titles, because they kind of don't have a pattern, and to me that's okay. Like, sometimes they'll be this, sometimes they'll be that.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of the Heisei series being like the versus ones, and then keep them together. Yeah, it's... I don't know. I mean, it's like... It's the same kind of thing of like Friends. The episodes of those are just called like the one with whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, people are going to call them that anyway, so you might as well just title them that.
I guess so.
Because, like, Ebirah Horror of the Deep is Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, which is what it was called in America. Yeah. Like, so there's
I'm gonna challenge you on that, Richard. Okay. Just because someone refers to something doesn't mean it can't have like a cooler name. I'm not saying the Godzilla names aren't cool, but like you could call it. I don't know. Now I'm gonna have to think of an example, but like, you know what I mean? Like the first one in the Heisei series is called The Return of Godzilla. That's a fine title. I don't have any problem with the title. Calling it Godzilla versus whatever, like people could still call it that. It doesn't make it not. I don't know. I think there's a branding purpose in giving your film a cool title.
Yeah.
Clearly, a lot of Hollywood doesn't agree with me, but that's what I think.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Your point kind of fell apart.
Oh, cool. Thanks, thanks, supreme ruler and judge of points.
Yeah, I mean, you're just like, I'm going to argue with you because I think that.
My point is, you can give something a cool title even if people aren't going to call it that.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that, like...
I'm just saying I think it's stupid and wrong, and you're dumb.
No, like, yeah, I mean, what's the point in giving it a cool title if people are just going to call it Godzilla vs. Mothra anyway? Like,
I think as an artist, there is a cool point.
I think that there's a simplicity in it, and I think that...
Sure, that's a different discussion, though.
Well, that's the point I was making.
Okay.
We're both wrong.
Richard,
okay.
Let's never fight again.
AJ, let's never stop fighting.
Richard versus AJ, battle for the earth.
Battle for the podcast. Battle for the ages. Now, the Heisei series ends with Godzilla's death. He literally melts. Which makes this next segment quite difficult. Welcome to... Continue the franchise.
That's our new intro to continue the franchise. Is you coughing. And
we don't use Derek's beautiful song. Oh, sorry, Al Jaguar. Sorry, bleep that. Boop. We're not going to bleep that.
Yeah.
We were talking about this last week. We never do edit gags.
Sorry, Derek.
Sorry to anyone that was like. We were talking about. Oh, it'll be funny. I'm going to replace it. with this.
Sorry, Al Jaguar. Shit. So continue the franchise. This
continue
is
the franchise where we continue the franchise,
and we do that by
pitching a
sequel
or
an improv game
or
based around the.
My continue the franchise is an improv game based around the Heisei series. Yeah. So we've got to. We set a rule years ago. Last year, when we first came up with the idea for the podcast, that it makes it more interesting if we have to pitch a sequel to come out now.
So Lethal Weapon 5 has to come out in 2017. It can't be like, it'd be cool if in 2000.
Yeah, at Mel Gibson's prime.
Yeah.
At Mel Gibson's prime in 2005, they made this, and so for the Heisei series, which had a definitive ending 22 years ago, now there's a new entry comes out. How do you make it still part of the Heisei series, or whatever you want to do?
Yeah.
How do you make it that? Last week I went very tangential with my Pulgasari thing, which was like it's the story. It was the story of something that happened during the Showa period. If you missed that, go and check it out.
You can barely hear it, but it's there.
And boy, howdy, is it a good one.
And I, of course, suggested they make a remake of a Showa film, thus still being kind of connected to the show.
Exactly.
And continuing the Heisei series, I'm in a bit of a bind here, Richard, because I didn't expect you to bring that up again. So mine's just another Godzilla film. But I guess you could use
AJ
the continuity of the Heisei.
Never expect me to not throw you under the bus, even if I don't know I'm doing it.
So okay, sure. Let's just say this is just using the Heisei suit. I don't know. Whatever.
Okay,
it could be in the Heisei continuity. I don't give a shit.
Okay.
It's a stupid idea anyway. I just couldn't think of anything.
Just Toho officially announces this takes place between two of the films.
Yeah. So, my... God, I don't even know how to start this. It's called... And maybe it's called Godzilla's Big Break. Or maybe it's called Godzilla vs. Beethoven. Basically, the joke is, God, this is terrible comedy. Imagine if the Beethoven series, starring everybody's favourite Saint Bernard, was replaced with Godzilla. Now imagine that. Imagine all those movies, but instead of Beethoven, it's Godzilla. And in Godzilla's Big Break, it's set in a meta-narrative. Maybe that's outside the Heisei series. Who knows?
They're filming Godzilla and they're like, we need 100-foot tall.
Yeah. It's going to be lizard. A poodle originally. Then Godzilla turns up, and the director loves Godzilla, so he casts Godzilla in this film. And maybe then in this world, maybe outside of that world, even there's a couple of guys from New Zealand who start a podcast, and one of them finds out about a missing person to do with the Godzilla series, and pitches another movie called Godzilla's Final Symphony, where he goes and finds the guy who made Pulgasari or something. I don't know.
Beethoven becoming our like seminal franchise.
Of course, it is. It absolutely is.
We keep going back to it.
It's our most viewed episode, so why not?
The views are, come on. Like that and Freddy vs. Jason are like the two that I find myself thinking back to, and I'm guessing Godzilla.
Yeah.
That's gonna. I hope it is, because otherwise this is also nothing.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Well, okay. I
Is
don't.
any of it for something? What's your continuing franchise?
Is any of life for anything?
You know, I didn't like root beer last week, and now I can just keep drinking it, and it's like kind of growing on me.
This was my plan.
Not really, though. It kind of tastes like toothpaste still.
Did you just brush your teeth?
No.
That's called a callback. Yeah.
That's called self-indulgence.
Anyway, my continue the franchise. I didn't really write anything down. I was kind of hoping you could sort of jump on it as well, and we could build something together.
No,
But
I'm not doing that.
You're on your own. Mine's called After Godzilla.
Okay.
So it's set. It follows the Heisei continuity, and that it's set 22 years after Godzilla melts. And I'd like to explore that kind of theme of like they kind of touched on it in something like Captain America: The Winter Soldier, or in like Civil War, and that like Cap. I'm just gonna go tangential again.
Is there spoilers for Captain America?
No, it's just sort of like that. Spoilers for the Heisei series, by the way. We should have said that at the start. Godzilla dies. Yeah, and like that whole idea of someone who went through their like formative years in the war and is then taken out of it. How they deal with like the like feeling like they need war to have a purpose, and so it would follow like the generals, the people that like shot the things at Godzilla, that like dealt with him 7 years in a row.
Yeah.
And 22 years on, Godzilla's been gone for a long time, and it's that sort of like they haven't really. It's the same thing that happened in Transformers 3.
Yeah.
So feeling like they no longer have a purpose.
Yeah.
Because there's no. But then at the same time, you know, what do they want? Are they wanting another giant catastrophe? And that sort of that human personal struggle.
It's really good. I was watching a episode of what's it called? Criminally Listed, which is one of my true crime YouTube channels today. Yeah. And one of the cases,
like when you say one of yours, you mean?
One of the ones I watch. I apologize. I'm not the Canadian guy with the voice that sounds like this. So that was mean. Anyway, I really like your channel. You just have a slightly comedic voice. But so do I. I'm a Kiwi. Anyway, he talked about a murder in that where they never caught the guy who killed this dude, but they did receive a letter which basically said, "I'm a Vietnam War vet. I like crave to kill because of the war, and I murdered your loved one because I had to kill someone, and I'm really sorry, but I had to do it." So it's sort of a what you're talking about there. Like they crave. So what do these guys like go on the search for the surviving Godzilla Jr. to try and like put him back in Tokyo so that they can like feel fulfilled in their purpose again, or do they try create another monster? Yeah.
So I mean, like there's a couple ways it could go. So either like you have they end up creating some sort of catastrophe, like so that they can control it basically and look like heroes. But
the Tomorrow Never Dies, same story.
Oh yeah,
controlling the news so they can report on it first.
Yeah. So like, but then obviously it would go awry and you end up with just a sort of Godzilla film. But yeah, I was kind of thinking, and this was hoping we could have kind of a discussion. Is that like, I'm not really sure where the film should go, whether it should be like. I was also kind of picturing it to be like a Friday the 13th Part 5, I think it's a new beginning, something like that. The one that takes place after Jason's dead, and it's like Corey Feldman's character is now like believes that someone's sort of following him. And then
you're testing the loyalty of our listeners right now.
Anyway, so Corey Feldman kills Jason in the fourth film in the Friday the 13th franchise, and then in the fifth film, Jason isn't in it, but there's like a new person stalking him.
Yeah.
And then the whole idea was to take the guy that kills Jason and turn him into Jason.
So you take the guy who killed Godzilla
and turn him into Godzilla.
What, like he drinks a potion and turns into a dinosaur?
Well, so it's the person who stopped the madness becomes the person who creates it.
Yeah.
That would be the tagline.
It's pretty wordy, but...
The man with the giant lizard is back and he's brought his dad.
What do you get the giant lizard who has it all? Anyway, yeah, no, that's a good idea. I like it.
Thank you.
It's better than...
I'm really trying with this.
It's better than Godzilla vs. Beethoven.
Who would win? Godzilla's not a good dinosaur. Godzilla's not a good dad.
No, I reckon Beethoven might win just because he'll, like, run a frickin' cable around Godzilla's legs and trip him up or something like that.
Yeah, it would be funnier to have Beethoven win, so that's what they would do.
Yeah.
Stupid
Hollywood.
Shit like that.
Can't believe they're doing this.
I can't believe they've done this. So join us next week. I guess we're winding down. We'll probably still have some amble.
Going for an hour?
Yeah, so next week we're going to have the Millennium series. And we've done something, we're going against what we originally stated. Now they've done a bit more research. Godzilla purists are probably going to hate us for this. But
Godzilla purists hate them. Listen to the podcast that everyone's talking about.
So, the Millennium series has 5 films in it.
Yeah.
Starting with Godzilla 2000.
Yeah.
And ending with Godzilla Final Wars. However, there is the problem of the next film to come out after the one we just watched is Godzilla 1998, which is an American film and not part of the Millennium series.
The Matthew Broderick one.
The Matthew Broderick one. However, after doing some research, there are very limited, but still there, references to the 98 Godzilla film in the Millennium series. So we were originally going to... Because we always watch them in chronological order and the order they were released, but we don't want to have to then go back to get it and stuff like that, or like watch it now but then not talk about it for a week. So we're going to do Millennium plus 98. So because there's a few lines of dialogue that refer to the 98 Godzilla film.
And it's also like I'm a chronological guy. Like I need to, if I'm going to watch and experience a series, I want to watch and experience it in the order they came out to replicate history. It's like, why would you watch the Star Wars prequels before the originals? That's not how they came out. You're not experiencing the story as it was intended to be told.
So that's what we're doing. So the next film we watch is going to be Godzilla 1998, which is oft considered the worst, spoiler alert, and is also the longest.
And look, David Brown, if I hear a fucking peep out of you, mate, I don't care. We're watching Godzilla 1998
as part of this.
As part of the Millennium series.
Fight
me, dude. Fight me.
And then a week later, we're going to be reviewing, but we don't really review. We discuss.
Analyze in depth.
Godzilla 2014 and Shin Godzilla.
So there'll only be 2 films, down from 15 to 7 to 5
6.
to 6 to 6 to 2. Diminishing returns? I think so.
So yeah, join us for that. A lot of discussion. Also, speaking about that being the longest one, I wanted to mention as well. Did you find it weird that like all the Showa films, apart from like a couple, were like 88 or 93 minutes, and all of these ones were 108 minutes?
I didn't find that weird.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty normal. Anyway,
just checking. Didn't want to make sure you were a loser.
Okay, catch us next week for our penultimate Godzilla episode.
And you can also catch us...
I really need to go to the toilet, so you can wrap up. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
You can also... You can also find us on Cult Pop Show, which you can find on Facebook and YouTube and SoundCloud and iTunes. Other than the podcast, we also do little videos about movies and TV and all that sort of fun, yummy stuff. And we also have a show at the moment called Soda Pop Show, which is a weekly live stream that we do on Facebook, and we also upload it to YouTube afterwards, where we talk about that week in news, and then we also drink weird flavors of soda. So the episode that would have come out yesterday, for those listening to this, this is a bit of a gamble, but I'm pretty sure we're talking about Doctor Who being a woman, and we're drinking some crazy sodas. We haven't quite decided on this. Is breaking continuity right here. I'm talking about chronological, and I'm the one who's screwing it up. Anyway, tune into that. So that airs at 8 p.m. New Zealand time on Facebook every Thursday if you want to watch the live stream, and it also goes on YouTube afterwards. So please watch them. Please tell us what you think. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that we've got planning to come out, and yeah, keep commenting. Comment your favourite Heisei film in the Godzilla series. Comment who your favourite monster that Godzilla fights is. Comment who your favourite host of this podcast is. Like, I'm genuinely curious. Like, am I the best character? Or is Richard? It's not Richard. Richard. I'm the best character. I bet I am. I bet all our fans like me more. Alright, I've been talking too long. The music's probably loud. You probably can't even hear what I'm saying. Goodbye, everybody, and thank you very much for listening.